At 5:51 am local time on April 8, 2025, the Kanlaon volcano in the Philippines produced a large eruption. As a plume of ash rapidly rose into the atmosphere, part of the eruption column collapsed back to the ground, generating both pyroclastic flows and pyroclastic surges. These superheated flows of 800 degrees Celsius volcanic material raced downslope at speeds exceeding 140 km per hour, reaching up to 1,100 meters downslope before it came to a halt. However, large bombs of lava thrown by the initial eruption also fell within a fairly sizable area, which I could geolocate as within 1,200 meters or 3,937 feet of its summit. Some of these larger bombs started grass fires, which made it incorrectly look like new fissures had opened up on two distinct sections of the volcano. Continuous ash emissions would last for another 56 minutes until ceasing this energetic eruptive episode at 6:47 am local time. By then, the volcanic eruption ash plume had rose to a maximum elevation of approximately 6,706 meters or 22,000 feet. This caused an aviation warning to be sent out via a volcanic ash advisory, and over the next few hours very light ashfall fell on multiple areas to the west within 25 kilometers of its summit. Additionally, what were described as sulfurous fumes, which in my interpretation probably denotes detectable but probably not truly harmful levels of sulfur dioxide and or hydrogen sulfide gas, were noted by the populace in 5 regional towns. Before I discuss what might happen next, I want to note something interesting. It can sometimes be difficult to determine by video alone pyroclastic flows and surges, a pyroclastic surge versus a pyroclastic flow during a volcanic eruption. As a quick reference, pyroclastic flows are a fast-moving current of hot gas and volcanic matter that flows along the ground away from a volcanic vent at speeds often exceeding 100, sometimes 200 km per hour. Pyroclastic flows often occur alongside pyroclastic surges, which are more gas-rich, lighter and farther traveling counterparts. People have been asking me to clarify how to distinguish the two via imagery or video for a few months, and finally this latest Kanlaon eruption provides us a perfect example to do this with. The limited pyroclastic density currents in today's eruption were largely created by collapse of the eruption column by material too dense to rise on a buoyant column of hot air in the eruption plume. Thus, it collapsed back to the ground, generating initially a pyroclastic surge which rapidly shot across the ground in a fairly thin manner at a speed I determined to be around 142 km per hour. Then, the less gas-rich pyroclastic flow began, which were notably slower with a speed of around 38 km per hour. This pyroclastic flow notably created a rising gas plume from it known as a coignite plume, and once the flow ceased advancing, it actually left behind a much thicker deposit due to its rock-rich composition unlike its pyroclastic surge counterpart. So, how does this explosion rank among Kanlaon's historical eruptions? Taken into account, this was eruption-sized probably Kanlaon's third largest eruption on record, with only its December 9, 2024 and June 3, 2024 eruptions surpassing it. Taken in isolated, the April 8, 2025 eruption would probably be rated on the Volcanic Explosivity Index as a 2. However, this explosion merely marks the latest activity in a much longer eruption that has been ongoing since October 18 of last year. This has largely consisted of intermittent weak ash emissions, but on occasion has generated larger explosions. After all, since 1900, Kanlaon has produced more distinct eruptions than any other volcanoes in the Philippines. However, what is noteworthy is that today's eruption had a magmatic component to it, with only 4 of the volcano's 28 eruptions since 1900 having a magmatic component. This means that once again, while quite unlikely, there is a risk that larger magmatic eruption could soon follow. As a result, a 6-kilometer exclusion zone is in effect exclusion zone in all sectors surrounding the Kanlaon volcano. However, in my opinion, the resumption of minor intermittent ash emissions at the Kanlaon volcano seems like the most likely outcome across the next few days to weeks. As a final note, I would like to thank my new YouTube channel member Kiara Pendragon for supporting my work.